Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Ty Volater. I want to show you how to basically just get started getting brackets code and start hacking away. Some of you may be brand new to Git and GitHub, so I'm going to take you through how to get started with that. And if you're already used to it, then you can kind of just see how our repos are set up. So here's what I'd like to cover, just how to actually some references how to get going on your system. I'm not going to do that step by step. But then I am going to give a live demonstration of actually getting our source. I'm going to edit some code right in front of you, show you a little bit about how you work in brackets to edit brackets, and then finally, how do you submit that change back to the brackets repo to work with the core team. And of course, how do you maintain source? We're going to have a lot of core members within Adobe contributing. We already have a lot of external members. How do you keep up with the source code changes so you don't get too far behind and have to do a nasty merge later? So first of all, Git. If you haven't heard of Git, it is a social, non-server-based a way to manage code, and where our repos or repositories are on github.com. So if I just jump over here to my browser, I'm on github.com, and let me just go to Adobe/brackets. So right here is one of the repositories for brackets, and you'll see from the web page, you can actually even see the source files. If I click on source and command, there's some JavaScript files right in there. So that's where our code is hosted. So you're going to need Git on your computer to be able to pull that source down, make edits, and actually push it back up. So I'm just going to list these references here because I'm not going to go through everything. But that's where our repo is. There's the download for getting Git on your Windows, Mac, Linux. There's a lot of different platforms. And we're here to help you this afternoon, those of you going to the hackathon and getting that set up. And then there's just some basic things you need to set up for the first time to make Git working, and that's that link there. Then finally, Git is primarily a command line tool. So there's some documentation and videos there. If you're more of a visual person, there's some pretty good visual tools out there. I actually favor that. I use a visual tool most of the time, but have found I need to know the command line tools when I get stuck. So there's some GUIs as well as a little cheat sheet that lists all the command line tools. And of course, if you get stuck, and a lot of us who've already been working on brackets have had our Git pain, feel free to ask questions. We're really happy to help you through the struggle if you're brand new to Git on our Google group, or Stack Overflow has a lot of those really strange things you may run into. They've got good ways to get through that. All right, so let's go ahead and grab some brackets code. So I'm going to show this live, but there's actually a step-by-step guide on our brackets wiki. Right there is the link if you want to follow this later just by reading it. So the way that I'm going to describe this, I found when I first started with Git coming from Perforce, I'd had a hard time understanding like where is code exactly. It just feels like with Git there's more places that code gets moved around. So the way I'm going to explain this is through this visual diagram. At the top is github.com, and you'll see we have both of the brackets repos there. We've got brackets.app, which is the native shell, so that's Objective-C, C++, Visual Studio, projects, and then brackets, Adobe/brackets, which is our JavaScript, CSS, and less code. So that's sitting up in the cloud in github.com. Got my box for my computer at the bottom. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to get a github.com account, and I need to get my own copy of those two repositories in the cloud in github.com. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me jump over to the browser here. And if you don't have a github.com account yet, just go to github.com, click sign up, it's free. Once you have an account, that's where I'm going to start from here. So you'll see I've got my little avatar here. This is my account. And I want to do what's called forking. That's the term for copying this repo over in github.com. So in the browser, I'm going to go to Adobe's repo, github.com/brackets. And I'm going to click fork. Do I want to fork? Yes, I do. So it's going to fork right now, and then I'd also repeat this process. Notice I just did brackets, which is just the web piece of brackets. If you think you want to work on native stuff, and well, you'll hear a little later why maybe you don't want to get in there yet because we may change, you want to fork brackets-app as well. So the picture, I've finished forking, so now if I hit my name here, and I've got 6 repositories. Notice brackets is one of them, and then earlier I've already actually forked brackets-app. So this is the picture of how things look now. So cool, I've got my stuff in github.com. You may ask why. Why didn't I just pull it straight down to my computer? The reason is when you want to contribute later, you need your code to be up somewhere in the cloud to ask that it be merged back into the main brackets repo. So that's what that repo does for me, is I can work locally, push it to my name / brackets, and then ask that it be pulled over here to the main brackets repo. So the next step is I want to get this locally on my computer, and Git calls this cloning. So if you follow the instructions from the links I posted earlier, you'll have, at least on Windows, this tool called Git Bash that allows me to issue some Git commands. So I'm going to pull first the brackets native shell. And so I'm going to issue this command git clone, and then the easiest way, so you don't have to type all of this, is if you actually go to github.com, Adobe brackets app, you'll see any repo has this nice little address for SSH that you can just copy. So I can just copy that, go here, paste, and hit enter. I'm not actually going to do this one. This one's a little big and is slow, so I've actually already done it. But that would be cloning the native shell. And once you've done that, you'll see if I do an ls, I've got locally my brackets app. So I'm going to go into that folder. We've got our shell. The brackets repo, the JavaScript stuff, needs to live inside of brackets app. So I'm going to clone that now. So I can do git clone. I'm going to jump back to my browser. This time I want just brackets, not brackets app. I'll remove that from. Oh, thank you. Yes, actually, when I was practicing this, I messed us up a few times. So if you're doing this, make sure, remember we forked over to create my own copy. Make sure in this step that you're getting your own fork, not our repo. So the way you can double check is, see, I can see my name right here in the address, tvaliter. Thanks, NJ. So I've copied that. Paste. Hit enter, and it's going to clone and ask me for some passwords here. This is actually pulling down everything. You're getting all the past history that was committed to brackets, all the changes and branches. So you're kind of getting this own well, it's not server dependent. You can basically get to anything that was ever done. So let me just jump back to this picture here now. So let me just talk a little bit about folder structure just so you don't get confused as you're trying to get your code down. So the first thing we grabbed was brackets-app. So that was the brackets-app repo. We CD'd inside of that, and then we cloned brackets, which is the other repo. And I just wanted to highlight within that, it has a source folder, which is where most of the brackets code lies. I also wanted to call out, notice these are in orange, this folder called third party. There's some other code you need that are things like CodeMirror. We talked about CodeMirror as another open source repo. I need to do another command that's going to inject that into this third party folder because I don't yet have all the brackets. And then I'll point out within brackets app, there's a source folder, got all my native files like C++, stuff like that. And then bin is where the actual executables are. And we are checking in the executables into the repo. So if you grab them, you don't need to build native code. The exe's there for you to double click on. So let's go back to my command line. Looks like I'm done there. If I do an ls, you'll see I've got my brackets folder. I'm going to go inside of brackets now, so CD there. And remember I mentioned that I need to get some extra things like CodeMirror. We use JSTree. Those are submodules within the brackets repo. And the first time you pull down, you need to basically initialize them. So the command here is git. Make sure I get this all right. Okay, git submodule, update, and init. And I'll highlight this. Make sure you do this from within the brackets, not brackets-app folder. Otherwise, you won't be initializing the right thing. You'll know it's right if you see things like CodeMirror JSLint in this list here. So I'm going to have to type my passphrase a few times. Almost there. Yay, okay. So let me show you a picture of things now. So I just did this Git submodule update. I hadn't drawn these before, but CodeMirror, JSLint, JSTree, those are also repositories. And I just ran this command, which gave me my own copy in that source-third-party folder on my computer. So now I should have enough to actually run brackets. So let me go to the folder here. Here's brackets.app. Going to open that within the bin folder. I'm on Windows. Going to open that. And there's brackets.exe. So you saw this earlier. I'm now running my own copy of brackets. And by default, brackets actually points to itself. So you'll notice there's a project already open in brackets. So it's self-editing by default. Let me just close a few of the files I'm actually opening. So for example, brackets commands right here, these are the commands that brackets knows how to use. So I'm going to come back and actually make some changes to brackets. There's just a few more things I need to set up with Git. We're kind of doing that first time setup thing, and then I'll kind of tell you when you're to the point where you can just kind of keep working on brackets and don't have to do all this initial setup. So if I go back to my picture here, I wanted to point out Git needs to kind of know the connection between the repository on your computer and the repository up on github.com. And these things are called remotes, and we actually got one for free, which I've highlighted here called Origin. When I did a clone to get these repositories, it already created Origin for me. And that's how, when I refer to Origin on my local computer, it knows that it's this repo. Now you notice I don't have a connection yet back to the original Adobe repo. And I'm going to need that because as I'm working, if other people are making changes, I want to be able to integrate and pull those down. Those aren't not going to appear in my repo here. So I basically want this additional remote, which I'm going to call Upstream. I'm going to set it up once, and once I have both Origin and Upstream, then it allows me to use Git commands to refer to both of those. So I'm going to go back to my command line here. Let's just see where I am. Okay, I'm in the brackets repo, and I'm going to type, okay, git remote. Okay, so we're adding a remote. The instructions on our page have this command here that says track master. Master is the name of the default branch where it's kind of the main line if you're used to Perforce or anything like that. This is just saying I just want to track or get changes from master by default. And then I'm going to call it Upstream, and that's the name I want to give it. And then finally, I need to actually give it the address. And I could copy this from the web page, but I think it's faster for me to type it here. Now here, because I'm only going to work on brackets, not brackets.app, I'm only going to do this for brackets. But if you wanted to work on the native shell, you'd repeat this, and the written instructions say that. So let's set that. And if you want to see if you did it right, you can say git remote and then -v for verbose. And here you'll see Origin is pointing to my repo. I see my name in it. And then Upstream is pointing toward the Adobe repo. So it's a good little check to make sure you didn't get that backwards. Okay, we already launched brackets. I called out that. So I think we're finally ready to edit some code. So let's go ahead and jump back here into brackets. And I'm going to use, so you'll notice here when I open files, I'm just double clicking on them. They're appearing on the left. We call this the working set. I'm going to change something about the working set just as a demonstration. So I'm going to use this feature quick open, and I happen to know that that is in a file called working set view. Clicked it here. And then I'm also going to use go to symbol, I think it's something with the word create in it. Oh, there it is, create new list item. So that is the JavaScript function that's using jQuery to write HTML to represent this list here. And if you look at this code here, right here is actually what's creating this, this href and actually setting the file name to be the whatever name I just opened. So for demonstration, I'm just going to put some extra text in here. So let's put some asterisks. We'll say asterisk plus, then file.name plus, and let's just put some more asterisks, and I'll hit save. Oh, something popped up. JSLint at the bottom. It was mentioned earlier. All code that is submitted to brackets needs to pass. It reminded me right there. So I'm going to go back and just fix the spacing it wants here. Hit save. Okay, cool. Now remember I said brackets is editing brackets right now. And what I mean by that, I should actually show this. Under File, if you go Open Folder, if I actually pick brackets, app-brackets, I'm pointing to that source code, and it was doing that by default, but that's how I ended up in this state. So brackets is editing brackets. I've just saved. If I go to the native app shell menu and go reload window, I can see my changes right there. So that's kind of gives you an idea of how brackets can edit itself. But then you may be wondering, gosh, it sounds really easy to screw something up, right? I'm using my own code editor. I made a change. I forgot a parentheses or something, and I blow up my brackets. So we have a solution for that a lot of us are using. If you go to the debug menu here, you'll see new window. This launches an additional brackets instance. So the workflow you can use is you can edit code over here, and if you made a mistake, you've only screwed up this one. And, if you hit refresh and does it run, this is kind of your unstable, and then on the left is stable. So if you screwed up, you could go back here and add that parentheses or whatever you missed. So let me just do that real quick. So say I go back to my my create new list item, and let's just remove some things here. Maybe I hit something accidentally. I'm going to hit save, Command S. In this window, I'm going to hit reload. And we're using Chromium Embedded Framework. We have the debugger right here. It gave me some exceptions right here in the console. So I could actually go, let me close that. I could actually go back here on that same function. There it is, and I could fix it. Save. Reload, and I'm back to working. So I've made this change. Let's assume this was some cool new feature I've been adding to brackets, or maybe it's a bug fix that you guys wanted to submit back to the main repo. So how do I contribute? So let me go back to my command line here. So the first thing that I need to do is that, I've edited some code, but I need to create a branch to put it in, and then I'm going to do what's called pushing that branch up to my repo. So you'll see that if I do a git status, which is a command that kind of tells me about the state that git is in, I'm on the master branch, and it realized that I've edited this one file. So I want to actually push this change into a different branch. So I'm going to say git branch, which will create a new branch, and I'm going to call this my new feature. Hit enter. If I say git branch now, you'll see that in green, still master, I'm on master, but I've created this new branch called my new feature, but I'm not on that branch yet. To get on it, I use this command called git checkout, which is really weirdly named if you come from Perforce or something like that. You think of checkout as getting code. Here, think of checking out as switching to a branch. So I want to switch to my new feature branch. Again, if I do git status here, there, I'm on branch my new feature. It still sees my change. So let's go back to the visual here. Okay, we made our branch. We did checkout. Actually coded before I did this, but that was okay. So let's just go through kind of watching now this code move from my computer up. So here's my code change, and before I push this back up, what if I spend a few days doing this? Other people in the community have been hacking on brackets and have maybe made some conflicts or changes in code that I have made as well. So I want to just see if there have been any changes that I should grab from the main repo, make sure those are incorporated before I try to push back up to this repo. Oh, thank you. So let me do that. So you'll notice if I do get status, it kind of leads me. I've got this file. It says changes have not been staged. Staging is part of brackets. So I'm going to say git add, and I'm going to stage this file. So I have to type the name. Cool. I have it staged. And then I actually want to commit it to my local repo. So I'm going to say git commit -m because I want to have a asterisk. I'm going to say adding asterisk to working set. Wish I could make them blink too to be really obnoxious. Okay, cool. So one file change, one insertion. If I do get status again, then we can see where I am now. I've got a clean working directory. So now, what if someone else has been editing code out there? So let's find out. So next, I'm going to do a git fetch. Now what fetch does is it basically kind of gets the history or change in the repo without actually affecting the code that I'm in right now. So git fetch, and remember I created upstream later. That's going to pull down any changes that have been made, so I'll be aware of them locally, but it won't affect my code. So I'm going to go fetch upstream. Good idea to have a short password since you get to type it a lot here. Okay, and look at something actually did come through. I actually had NJ during the presentation. From the time when I pulled code to the time I want to push it, he made a little change just to demonstrate this. So he actually made a change in code that doesn't affect mine, but I do want to merge it into mine so that I'm all synced up to the latest. So I've gotten the changes present on my computer. I'm actually going to merge them in to the branch that I'm working on with this command, git merge, upstream, and then the branch name, which is master. Oops, what did I do? Oh, upstream. There we go. Thanks. Okay, cool. So that's just an example of how if other people are making changes, what you'd have to go through to update. Now, if you had collisions, it would tell you about them, and you'd have to do a merge, but I'm not going to demonstrate that here. All right, so this is where we're heading next, right? We've merged, we pulled from here, we fetched and merged, we have our change here. Now we want to do what's called pushing back to our repository. Remember, we're pushing to our repository, so there's a place that we can request that it be pulled then into the main brackets repository. So I'll go back to get my console here, and I am going to issue this command. So git, it's called pushing. Where do I want it to go? I want it to go to origin because origin is the name of my repo. And then what is the branch that I am pushing? Well, it's this branch called my new feature. Enter that, type my password. All right, looks like it took. Let's see what that looks like if I go to my repo. So I'm on github.com/tvolitor/brackets. I'm just going to refresh here. And notice here there's this pop down. This is the branch picker. So you're going to see all the branches that were already existing on brackets, and you're going to see a new branch that you pushed. So right down here you'll see my new feature. I can pick it. And actually I want to go to, actually like this view a little better. It's a little strange, but see how it says branches here? If I click branches, I also see my list of my branch. It shows I'm one ahead, meaning I've committed once. And if I hit compare, actually online, I can see the changes that I made. So I want to actually request that this be pulled into the main repo. So I'm just going to go up here and say pull request. And I can summarize what I'm doing. So adding asterisk to working set name, and you could go into more detail here. I'll send my pull request. So now this will announce to the current core Adobe Brackets team that this pull request is out there, and someone will look at your code and leave comments and help guide you if you weren't sure about anything looks a little off by design. So I think NJ is going to add a comment for me. Did I miss? Oh, let me go back. Yeah, let's see. Don't I go to my new feature first? Yeah, I think. Request. I did, yeah. Where should I fix this here? Yeah. I may have to talk through this. I think I already had my new feature there. Yeah, so let me just talk through it a little bit. And again, we're on Google Groups and available this afternoon. So I had already, in practicing this, pushed it up. But I basically said a pull request to take it from tvolator/brackets into the Adobe/brackets. NJ would then leave a comment. You can leave like comments per line, which is really nice, and you can respond to them. So there's interaction between the community on getting that code nice, high quality. Once it's hit that mark, someone will hit merge, and it will land in the brackets repo, and everyone can then later see it. So you'll see there, it's called a pull request. Which actually lands it is called a merge, and then my code is here. So so have fun hacking with brackets. I wanted to stop for a second and see if there are any questions that I can ask. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the question is if I send a pull request and it doesn't actually make it into the Adobe/brackets repo, how do I get my own fork back in sync with the repo? So you would, well, if you did it, there's a few ways to do it actually. If you were working in a branch, which I was, remember I created a my new feature branch, you could just leave that branch there or start another branch that is based off of master. Master should reflect, if you've been pulling from upstream into master, should reflect the state of that actual repo. So for example, I could do, so I'm on my new feature right now. I could just go git checkout master. Let's assume master is actually up to date. I did my upstream, and then I could start working on something new. I could go git branch, my new feature 2. So yeah, you won't be too stuck there.
So if you I accidentally made changes in my forks master, and then so it's not in sync, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get that back in sync, and I just
on your forks master.
My forks
What's
master.
The trick for that?
So the trick for that is if you're okay throwing all those changes away, then on your master, first do a fetch upstream or wherever you want to sync to, and then do let's see, git reset -- hard, and then the remote branch. So git reset -- hard upstream/master. That'll force your local master pointer to be where upstream/master is. And then after that, basically any other commits you had will be garbage collected at some point, unless you had other branches pointing to them.
Yeah. Are you going to be around this afternoon?
Yeah, I can't. I mean, that was my goal of coming today, is to hopefully get this thing straightened out.
So we can help you out too.
Okay.
Someone can help you out.
Yeah, I mean, I did similar things to what you described in it.
Your fork, though, if you
Like
had a fork on GitHub, I don't know what it does with that fork.
I mean, I even went and deleted the fork, and then I came back and all those changes were still there once I recreated the same fork.
On GitHub?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be what happened to you too, Ty. It looks
Yeah,
like some of those things were still there, so it's like GitHub doesn't actually delete the fork when you delete it. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But we can help you out this afternoon.
Cool.
And
So
we
everyone else, don't do anything in master.
Yeah, try to keep your master clean. That's a lesson I learned for sure. Just don't ever check anything into master.
Yeah, we'll help you guys with that. And if you're a Git pro out there, all this, what I went through is a document we have. And besides contributing to code, if you can help make our documentation better so anyone can get through these steps easier, that'd be great. Any other questions? And I think we should go to the next.